Welcome to Mindshock. This is your host Bruce McGuire, and you are listening to live Q&A number 6, where we will be examining any and all questions from all corners of reality and whatever users saunter in desire to know in typical Mindshock fashion with logic and reason at the forefront. I am, of course, your not-so-humble host, Bruce McGuire. And if you want to help support the Mindshock podcast, you can donate to our PayPal. Just check the link in the description. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Hit that bell for notifications. You could also become a YouTube member right here on YouTube. Help support your channel that way. Like and share Twitter, Facebook, Reddit, Patreon. Patrons do get priority for case topic, logical analysis, co-podcaster requests. You could also be a guest in the podcast depending on your tier. Questions, comments, theories, thoughts, suggestions, rebuttals, debunkings of any kind. Leave them in the comments section. Hello, Cassidy Smoke. You missed the last couple lives. Yes, sometimes we are sporadic. And here on Mindshock, I try to exist outside of time and space itself, to not be limited to 24 hours in a single day like most mortals are. So what is on everyone's mind today? Got a lot of podcasts in the works. We'll be releasing some pretty interesting stuff starting tomorrow. Got a few guests lined up. Got the new logical analysis system launching with the one and only Matt Walsh giving it quite the test. Giving it quite the test. So what do inquiring minds want to know here on Mindshock? Actually got a few new series involving Q&As planned as well, which should be super fun in various different subtopics that many might not think Mindshock would delve into, but if for those that haven't learned by now, we delve into everything on Mindshock. Where will the conversations lean tonight? Previous Q&As, I mean, we've gone from going over Steven Seagal to Flat Earth to Batman and Batmam and all sorts of wild oddities, which can be expected here on Mindshock. Cassidy says, I read the book by Bill Deere regarding O.J. Simpson. Seems to be a lot of reasons to suspect his son Jason should have been a prime suspect. Yeah, there are a lot of major questions in the direction of Jason Simpson. If you haven't checked out the Mindshock O.J. Simpson series, check that out. I did a whole episode covering Jason Simpson and what appears to be a never-ending stream of oddities and unsubstantiations regarding alibis and motives. And if OJ was looking to cover something up, he wouldn't give up his son, but on the other hand, he would maintain his innocence. He doesn't want to go to prison. So, yeah, if it was his son, that would account for a few things, but I'm not even sure it's that simple. It might have been something involving his son and possible other drug dealers or criminals. I'll be doing another episode in the OJ series soon as well. Also, a new episode on the Springfield 3 on the horizon. I've covered that case pretty extensively. If you haven't checked that out, check that out. I'll probably be doing a recap video of the suspects because nobody has seemed to gone over the literally dozens of suspects in the Springfield 3 case like I went over, and I'll be doing re-examination of that as well. Lord Zed stated, I don't believe it was OJ's son. I believe OJ was heavily involved with drug dealers and mobsters, namely Joey Ippolito. Well, was so it seems like they all could have possibly been involved with various drug dealers. Nicole Brown, Ron Goldman as well, and possibly OJ and Jason. So, a lot of issues there for sure. Cassidy said, did you know that Mark Furman was asked in court if he planted evidence in the case and he invoked his Fifth Amendment privilege? Well, I thought everybody kind of already accepted that evidence was planted. It's just they thought it was him. I guess the defense was they thought it was him, so that's why they planted to make sure they got the right guy. Because somehow they knew it was him anyway, and they knew the evidence was flimsy. I don't know. But I don't know too many people disputing that. Lord Zed said Ron's mom was married to Marvin Glass, a huge coke dealer. Well, it seems like Nicole Brown was also involved with possible drug dealers. So it looks like all of them could have possibly been involved in drug dealers. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that that was involved with their murder, but obviously these unknown variables and full investigations would have had to have been made. Did they really do a full investigation into everybody? I don't know. I haven't seen extensive deep dives on Ron Goldman or Nicole Brown or Jason. Or even OJ outside of pointing the finger directly at him and just criminal element he might have been involved with. Hello, Kill the Bank in the house. So far, we started off the Q&A with O.J. Simpson and the O.J. Simpson case. Quite a bizarre case. Quite a bizarre case. I wonder where we will end up tonight. Will we continue the Steven Seagal meanderings? The one and only master of the martial arts, Steven Seagal, who has seemed to have overlapped in conspiracies but doesn't get the credit for it. People talk about Alex Jones, Bill Cooper, David Icke, Phil Schneider. But who talks about Steven Seagal? Mr. 1-to-1 in the house. Hello. These Q&As are actually pretty fun to do because we just never know where we're going to end up. We just know we're going to get there in entertaining fashion. Kill the Bank says, watch a doc on that one. Looks to me as if his son may have done it. Very possible. It would explain a lot of the variables. And even if his son didn't do it himself, he may have been present, and there may have been also other criminals and or drug dealers there. Because if this was some kind of interrupted drug deal, because it's kind of hard to completely ignore the drug connections that Nicole Brown allegedly had, that Ron Goldman allegedly had, and that both Jason and OJ had separately. So it seems like all of these people had drug connections and connections to criminal elements. So if there was some kind of drug deal going down, Jason shows up in a rage because Nicole Brown didn't go to his restaurant or whatever, what could have happened? And if Jason was somehow in the middle of it and OJ shows up, I mean, OJ's not going to blow the whistle on his son. He's not going to blow the whistle on these murdering, drug-dealing criminals. So that could explain it if it was some kind of situation like that. I mean, I wonder if it's known their comings and goings, and if they normally had some kind of drug deals going on at the house there. But I don't know. It seems like that was never revealed. Like for let's say the past 3-4 months, what was the normal schedule for buying drugs if that's what they did, or interacting with these criminals with drug connections. We got any questions outside of OJ here? OJ Simpson did a couple of interesting movies. Merman 84 in the house. Yeah, these Q&As are always entertaining. It usually takes me a day to recover, or two. But I should be dropping a very interesting podcast tomorrow night on epistemology with a high-level academic. And the logical analysis system should be done at some point during the week. And I also started lining up more guests, so a lot of fun stuff coming up. So hopefully you guys don't make me laugh too hard to the point where I'm out of commission, like on some of the other Q&As. Big Huge wasn't delivering. Who's Big Huge? Lord Zed, that is so weird. Did you ever see The Lazarus Project? It's a great movie starring Paul Walker. Are we gonna go into Paul Walker conspiracies? There's a lot of Paul Walker conspiracies. I don't remember, actually. I vaguely remember, so maybe it was on in the background somewhere around the time of its release. Is that somewhere around 2011, 2017 to, or 2007 to 2011, somewhere in that area? Cassidy's asking, epistemological study is the pursuit of wisdom? Not specifically, just the science of knowledge itself. How are beliefs shaped? How is the truth of supposed knowledge investigated or verified? The role of culture or society in the gaining of knowledge or accepting a body of knowledge. Oh, BitChute just wasn't delivering? Mr. One-to-One, I've lost faith in science. There's no reason to lose faith in science. Science is legit. Scientism isn't. And I think that's one of the biggest issues. I talk about this all the time. Like, this is how you know goofs like Neil Tyson or Bill Nye or whoever these establishment mouthpieces and scientism priests are. They'll never even say the word scientism. That's how you know they're shell frauds. Because if they were really about science, if they were true scientists, they would be warning everybody about the dangers of scientism and how we always need to be very careful and how to clearly distinguish between real science and scientism. But they won't even say the word scientism because these cultists are all about defending blind faith in the corrupt power structures and scientism. Because scientism hinges on getting people to have blind faith in that scientism is real science. Because scientism is just blind faith in corrupt and or fallible humans in positions of power pushing agendas and narratives, masquerading as actual real science. Once that mask is lifted, they can't handle it. That's why even Neil Tyson won't do any open debates. I mean, even in ancient Greece, if that's the history, I mean, the whole point of a forum, the word forum itself, it's an open forum where anybody can bring forth ideas, challenge ideas, have open debates, honest, logical examinations of ideas. And obviously Neil Tyson cowers away from anything of that nature. Not just him, but most of these establishment mouthpieces. Lord Zed said, I haven't done much digging into Paul Walker conspiracies. However, I saw some of the lesser-known movies that are pretty trippy and make me think he got whacked. Yeah, so I didn't think we would be getting into Paul Walker, but wow, okay, maybe we should. So first of all, any Fast and Furious fans in here? The first movie was pretty legit, I have to say. The first movie had, what should we call it, soul. And then the second and the third a little bit, and then it just plunged off a cliff, jumped the shark, and then it made a joke of jumping the shark where it would jump the shark multiple times in every movie. I forget which one. They had Vin Diesel just jumping. Was he jumping off a helicopter across highways or something and then just landing on cars without even getting hurt? I mean, it was just wild, bonkers nonsense. But most of the people in the Fast and Furious Fast X is so bad. Mr. Wonder. Now, didn't they? Okay, hold on a second. Hold on a second. There were two movies. Did they. Mission Impossible, the latest Mission Impossible, did they have a scene? Was it in Rome where they filmed two very similar scenes? Was that Fast X and also the new Mission Impossible, which was pretty decent? Kill the Bank said, not sure about being a fan, but I have seen all 27 of them. Yeah, I've seen every single one as well. Because it's like watching a train wreck on how they're going to jump the shark on jumping the shark. It's like they got sharks jumping over each other multiple times in each movie. Kill the Bank said, so sad that science has been so corrupted. Yeah, I mean, that's why history is so important. Because I mean, there are goofs thinking that Eddington was legit. I mean, it's just wild. And this stuff was being exposed a long time. Actually, let me pull up the first link that kind of exposed the hoax of 1919. Infinite Energy magazine. This is where I first saw it. Let's see if there's a date here. So this was issue 87, October 2009. For some reason, this is definitely not the first time it was mentioned. So in the references, so this Infinite Energy magazine, I believe this is actually, I believe it's peer reviewed. For those that care about that, obviously. You know, we don't deal with appeal to authority and appeal to popularity, logical fallacies rolled into one, like the goofs that take that seriously. But yes, I believe this is a peer-reviewed scientific journal, Infinite Energy magazine. So the eclipse data of 1919, the greatest hoax in 20th century science by Richard Moody Jr. Now, I saw this way earlier than 2009. In the references here, Moody also wrote a paper here, 2007, Beyond Plate Tectonics, Plate Dynamics, and also McCausland had a paper in the Journal of Scientific Exploration, Anomalies in the History of Relativity. And you can find this actually on scientificexploration.org. And yet another article by J. Maddox, 1995, More Precise Solar Limb Light Bending from Nature, 37711. So obviously everybody knows Nature. So this is going back all the way into the 90s. People were talking about Eddington's fraud and the hoax of 1919. And people still take that seriously. That's why looking at history is so important. And when you look at what all of these physicists were doing, going all the way back to Maxwell, and a lot of these other physicists, and then Einstein kind of comes along and usurps everything. Pre-Einstein, it seems like there was legit, relatively non-politicized science going on. And then everything kind of goes downhill with Einstein and the fraud of relativity. Merman84, have we touched base on the dinosaur hoax claim thoughts? Okay, hold on a second. Let's go in order. Let's deal with Paul Walker and Fast and the Furious first. Then we're going to get to the dinosaur hoax. Wow. I knew this Q&A was going to go off the rails, but okay, we're getting started early. Okay. All right. So Paul Walker. Now, from first-hand accounts, he actually seemed like a really nice guy. Like he didn't belong in Hollywood. So, you know, all that corruption going on. I haven't done a deep enough dive. I'm gonna have to do a dedicated podcast on him. But it just, from all accounts, people just said he was a really nice guy. There was one story where he would never say this. This is other people said this of him. I mean, one random story that I just remembered was he was in a jewelry store or something, and there was some guy trying to buy an engagement ring for his fiance, and he didn't have the money. And Paul Walker just walked over and bought like the $10,000 or $20,000 ring for the guy without telling him, and then just left the store. I mean, I don't know. Maybe that story's fake, but there's a ton of stories like that about Paul Walker. Like, he's just the type of guy that does not belong in Hollywood. So it would be curious if he really was this guy with integrity. Would he not shut up about certain things? And the whole Fast and the Furious series, again, even the first one, I mean, was Vin Diesel in the club during Fast and Furious 1? I'm not sure. You know, obviously Spielberg, he got that role in Saving Private Ryan, right? That small role. I don't even remember that. So obviously anything to do with Spielberg is automatically going to be corruption out the wazoo. But I don't know. Yeah, it's kind of tough. Obviously Ludacris major sellout, there's a ton of Illuminati occult videos on Ludacris. But as far as Paul Walker, I mean, he's just one of these guys where, has anybody said anything bad about him? And then just the circumstances of that death, was that an Illuminati sacrifice because he was actually a good guy? Or, I mean, it's also hard to believe he would have been in Hollywood that long without seeing the corruption. Because after the first Fast and the Furious movie, I mean, he was transcending into A-list. So, I mean, back in the Joyride days, I mean, was that 2001? Around the same time somewhere. But, yeah, he was slowly transcending to A-list. It's kind of hard to believe that he wouldn't. I mean, any of the top A-listers, does anybody believe they're not in the know? They don't have some kind of knowledge of just the vast corruption and filth that is Hollywood? So it was only a matter of time before he found out about it. Now, what would he do if he truly was a man of integrity that didn't belong in the City of Angels? We don't need to go into. Okay, so Kill the Bang says, I heard that Paul Walker was about to call out Hollywood something about the pedo ring. Yeah, so if he was working, it does seem kind of strange, right, that some of these big names all supposedly died in a short period of time. So Paul Walker, November 30th, 2013. Chester Bennington, 2017. Chris Cornell, 2017. So Paul Walker was a couple years before that. There was a couple others, I don't remember, but there was, the Skulls Lord Zed. Yeah, that's kind of crazy. That's kind of crazy. Actually, you know what? I'm going to play, I don't know if I can play this clip. I'm going to try to play a clip and see if we're going to get copyright issues, but I think it'll be worth it. This one shocked my mind a little bit. Hopefully this is super low resolution so it won't get copyright. It's 358p. I'm gonna see if I can overlap it here. If you guys haven't seen this one is gonna blow some minds, because this, I don't even know the year of this. This would have been the 60s, maybe 1966. I don't think you guys are ready for this. This is one of the biggest mind shocks I've ever seen.
A good butler never forgets. Oh, the crab meat canapé. I must...
Wow, the audio is not working.
Good butler. Never forget. Good butler. Good butler never forgets. Oh, the crab meat canapes. I must pop them in the oven right away.
Maybe I should talk over it so I won't get the copyright.
Good idea, this rehearsal.
This is Batman
Ladies,
1966.
such worthy causes. I personally favor Miss Natural Resources.
There it is.
I'd like to make her my own personal charity.
The original Batman
All
show.
are worthy. Now you can say that again.
Pay attention.
And that is Bruce Wayne's grandfather, Mrs. Cooper?
His great-grandfather.
I understand he was tapped for Skull and Bones.
Tapped for it? Sir, he founded Skull and Bones.
Who was expecting that in 1966? Bruce Wayne, Batman's grandfather, founded Skull and Bones. Was the Skull and Bones Society even public in 1966? See, this is what shocked me, because as far as I remember, let me look this up, because I didn't even think it went public until what was that? George Bush was asked about it. So supposedly Skull and Bones was founded in 1832. I'm trying to see where it went public. Because does anybody remember any of this being mentioned in the media? Because this was really hush-hush. I don't remember it being public until around 2000. So obviously public in the media. I mean, obviously hardcore conspiracy theorists were writing about it in books, but we're talking about mainstream media here. We're talking about one of the most popular TV shows ever at the time in 1966. And you guys came here for a mind shock. You got your mind shock. But yeah, because, hold on, let's get back to Paul Walker and Skull and Bones. But yes, Kill the Bank. Bush and Kerry running against each other were both Skull and Bones. And that was mentioned in the mainstream media at the time. And that's when it kind of really went public. Before that, I believe it was only mentioned in random conspiracy books, not in the mainstream news or the mainstream media. So the fact that they made Bruce Wayne's grandfather the founder of Skull and Bones in the most popular TV show of 1966 on primetime television. How many people even knew what Skull and Bones was in 1966 watching Batman? I mean, people that weren't in it, obviously, like the random public. Now my window got all messed up because we played that clip and it was 380p or something. Hopefully it's not going to get copyright because it was so small and low quality. Well, I certainly didn't pick up on it. I watched the original Batman probably through the early 90s. Never thought anything of it at that time. I don't think people knew what it was. I didn't know what it was in the early 90s. It's one of the first episodes. Might have been the first episodes of The Penguin. I can get you the exact episode number. I believe it was... No way. Does anybody want to guess what episode of the first season this was? Take a guess, people. Take a guess. Take a guess. Which... Yep, you got it. It was episode 33. Which is strange, too, because that's a lot of episodes for a single... Oh, wow, a 332. That... Because, yeah, normally seasons were 20 to 27, maybe? Because 30... Yeah, it was episode 33, and we're going to get even further into Mindshock Land because... Let me see here. Huh. Supposedly, Charles Pfizer was born March 22nd, 322. That's interesting. So, Lorenzo Semple Jr. was a Yale alum, and he was one of the creators of the original Batman series. So I don't know if he was in Skull and Bones himself. But apparently Sheldon Stark was the one who wrote this episode. And he also wrote The Walton 72, The Fugitive 63, Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea 64. He died in 1997. There was some kind of connection with him as well. I don't remember it right now. Huh. Sheldon Stark. What an interesting name. Not a lot of info on this guy. But yeah, it's really weird because... I mean, that's definitely not an accident that it was episode 33, though. There's also, in Gematria, they do a lot with Batman as well. In a lot of the Batman movies, there's 322 all over the place. Might have to do a dedicated episode on that. But anyway, we need to get back to Paul Walker in a second. But the only reason I remembered that was because... Who mentioned... Let's see... Paul Walker, The Skulls, Kill the Bank mentioned it. And actually, Lord Zed mentioned it before that as well. Lord Zed also said Lazarus Project, Vehicle 19, and Ours are all Paul Walker movies that center around human trafficking, brainwash, and the medical industry not caring about us. They were pretty deep movies. Yes. Now, Kill the Bank. So the whole calling out Hollywood situation, it seems like Walker... Heracles, you missed it. I'll play it again for Heracles. Don't spoil it. Or for anybody else joining us.
A good butler never forgets. Oh, the crab meat canapes. I must pop them in the oven right away.
Fair use, fair use, fair use. This is the 1965.
Good idea, this rehearsal. The ladies, such worthy causes. I personally favor Miss Natural Resources.
You're about to get your mind
I'd like to
shot.
make her my own personal charity.
This is episode
All are worthy.
33.
Now you can say that again.
That is Bruce Wayne's grandfather, Mrs. Cooper.
His great-grandfather.
I understand he was tapped for Skull and Bones.
Tapped for it? Sir, he founded Skull and Bones.
Canapé, miss?
Oh, no, thank you. I have to watch my figure.
Bruce Wayne's grandfather founded Skull and Bones. One of the creators of the 66 series went to Yale. I don't know if he was in Skull and Bones, though. What do you think of that, Heracles? What do you think of that? Episode 33 mentions Bruce Wayne's grandfather founding Skull and Bones so this is a 1966 television episode, which I don't think people even knew about the Skull and Bones Secret Society in the mainstream until probably post 2000. So going back to Paul Walker. What do you guys think Paul Walker was thinking? Because it is kind of coincidental that his movie selection. Then again, you do have Fast and Furious, although, you got Obama's Operation Fast and Furious. Why did they name it that? So, because Fast and Furious came out 2001. Obama's Fast and Furious would have been what? Operation Fast and Furious. One of the greatest scandals, Mexican cartels. The U.S. government trying to get U.S. automatic weapons into the hands of Mexican drug cartels. And Fast and Furious, was that 2? Was that the plot of Fast and Furious 2? Or 4? Or 5? Whatever? That's kind of crazy. The hearing on Fast and Furious was 2011, but it was implemented by the Obama administration, so would that have been 2008-ish? So I wonder, because 2011, the hearings started in 2011 exposing it. Walker died 2013. I don't know, does that add up? That doesn't really add up. But that was also... There was some kind of Mexican cartel plot in one of the Fast and Furious, or at least one of the Fast and Furious movies. So, what is everybody thinking? Was Paul Walker in the know? I mean, some of his earlier interviews, he just seemed so genuine. Like when he first got to Hollywood and was trying to get movies. Like even his interviews for, I think, the first one or two Fast and Furious movies, he just does not seem like the typical Hollywood guy. Alright, kill the bank, catch ya next time. Yeah, there were a lot of shady individuals, Cassidy, involved with the Fast and Furious gun running scandal. But, so, what does everybody think about Paul Walker? It's hard to believe. I mean, I don't know if I'm just appealing to incredulity, but it's hard to believe that he would knowingly be involved in all of that. Or did he specifically select those movies because he wanted to be involved in kind of blowing the whistle on this, which would make sense because if he came into some kind of information, was he silenced like all these other people are being silenced years later? I mean, obviously there were people before him, but once you get around to Chris Cornell, Chester Bennington, some of those guys, it seems like it increased, and they were a lot closer. That was 2017, and they were dying in quotations, regardless of, what the claimed causes of death were. And then you also have... So what happened with Anne Hesh, too? Because so this was 2022. So there's also some kind of crash scene. We gotta do an episode on this. Maybe I should do a whole episode just on Hollywood people dying mysteriously that are somehow involved with exposing trafficking or shady business. So Anne Hesh, August 5th, 2022. A sequence of 3 motor vehicle collisions in LA. The final collision inflicting critical injuries on Hesh and destroying a house. Huh. What? So, according to the wiki, there's a video of the scene at the collision, an unidentified man shouting out of the car at the driver. The vehicle then reversed and left the scene. Huh. Then there's a second hit and run in which Hesh Mini struck a Jaguar without stopping, though without injury to the other driver. An accompanying video shows the Mini speeding down an alleyway and nearly hitting a pedestrian. A doorbell video recorded in the moments before the final crash shows Hesh's vehicle driving along a neighborhood street at a very high speed, followed a few seconds later by the sound of a crash. In the final, so was this like 3-4 crashes? Hesh's vehicle struck a house, broke through a wall, embedded itself 30 feet into the building, trapping Hesh inside. The vehicle caught fire, which rapidly spread throughout the entire building. The resulting house fire took 65 minutes to fully extinguish and required 59 firefighters. Is anybody surprised it wasn't 66 minutes and 33 firefighters? Firefighters were unable to access and fully extricate Hesh from the vehicle for 45 minutes after their arrival on the scene, and initially were not aware that a person was trapped in the vehicle itself. Does anybody believe that? Hesh had sustained severe burns and smoke inhalation injuries by the time she was rescued. The house was left structurally compromised and uninhabitable. The tenant living in the house was in the rear of the structure at the time of the collision and only sustained minor injuries, but her attorney said that she and her pets almost lost their lives and then she had lost all of her personal property in the fire. Law enforcement officials initially stated that Hesh was deemed to be under the influence and acting erratically at the time of the crashes. The LA Police Department said that a preliminary blood analysis showed the presence of both cocaine and narcotics, including fentanyl, in her system. So, okay, however, a more comprehensive analysis that took several months to complete was needed to determine whether the narcotics detected were given by the hospital or ingested earlier. Wait, what? So they took her blood after... So, what? December 6, 2022, the LA County Department of Medical Examiner coroner announced the result of Hesch's autopsy, stating that she was not impaired by illicit substances at the time of the incident and that no active drugs were found in her system. An inactive metabolite of cocaine was found through a blood test when Hesch arrived at the hospital, which the coroner's officer said indicates the drug was used in the past, but not at the time of the crash. Cannabinoids were detected in Hesch's urine, but not in the blood, which was consistent with prior use, but not during the time of the incident. Fentanyl was also detected in Hesch's system, but it was determined that it was treatment she received at the hospital. Now, if there is some kind of a conspiracy, yeah, it's kind of rough. It's kind of rough. Nick Fingar says the helicopter news footage shows her sitting up on the gurney with sheet over her whole body. They shoved her back down on the gurney and put her in the ambulance. She was trying to get away. And yeah, if this was some conspiracy, I mean, how dark is this? They could have dosed her with anything at that point, right? Because if this was all a result, like if somebody's trying to kill her, so apparently, you know, it's weird that they admitted that there were no drugs in her system at the time of the accident. Isn't that weird? If it was a conspiracy set, unless there were some good people who released that info, but wouldn't normally they kind of frame the person and say there was drugs in the system to make it look like it couldn't have been her acting at least somewhat rationally? Because if people are trying to kill her, I mean, she's trying to get away. Nick Finger says the paramedics weren't from the ambulance close to the wreck. It seemed like these guys were taking her out of view from everyone except the news chopper. Well, Cassidy, cocaine and fentanyl, who knows what they dosed her with at the hospital if there were bad actors trying to take her out. Also, of course, going back to Paul Walker, I Am Iron's cat, no way he dies in a high-speed car crash. I mean, it's almost like a bad joke. I mean, some people think Paul Walker's still alive, but yeah, what is up with all of these strange celebrity deaths? And if Anne Hesch was also involved in either seeing something or willing to expose it, but Hesch is like, she's a long-time Hollywood actress, so some people would think that she would have been in the club, whereas someone like Paul Walker, not necessarily. Although, I don't know, he had been in Hollywood for a number of years at that point as well. Also, apparently the earlier reports said that she was in stable condition. Is this shades of Tupac? Because supposedly Tupac, I have to do another episode in the Tupac series. Supposedly he was stable as well and had numerous visitors. And then all of a sudden he was announced dead, just like Anne Hesch. So yeah, I mean, quite a few conspiracy theories regarding various Hollywood celebrities dying under mysterious circumstances, because it's not often that there's some kind of multiple car accident destroying houses, situation like this. Any final thoughts on Walker? Nick, I try not to look at any car crash or any kind of footage like that. That doesn't necessarily mean anything, obviously, because, people can have life-threatening injuries and still even walk or even run. I mean, it all depends, because even if there's massive organ damage, they could still be fine for a certain amount of minutes or hours. But yeah, I don't know. So yeah, we're gonna get to dinosaurs in a second. Let's just finish up with Paul Walker. So was Paul Walker knowingly involved in some of these movies in terms of trying to blow the whistle the only way he knew how by taking these roles to bring attention to these topics? Because this is also pre widespread internet. Like, what year was The Skulls? Was that 2000? Let's see. That was a decent movie, too. I remember liking that movie when it came out. Actually, I'm wrong. Paul Walker was a child actor in the 80s. I didn't even know that. He was on The Young and the Restless. Huh. I didn't know that he was a child actor, so okay, I guess MK Ultra's on the table then. Huh. Yeah, that's weird. I totally did not know that. Apparently, Walker also attended community colleges majoring in marine biology. Huh. So if he was a child actor, I mean, I don't know what to make of any of this. And yes, The Skulls was 2000. Yeah, I don't know, man. This is weird. And speaking of dinosaurs, he was in Tammy and the T-Rex, 1994. I didn't know this. I did not know this. He was also, wow, he was in The Retaliator, aka Programmed to Kill. So he was in these low budget B movies, Monster in the Closet, a horror comedy, 1986, and The Retaliator, aka Programmed to Kill, 1987. Programmed to Kill, is that a nod to MK Ultra? I didn't see that movie. Anybody saw that movie? This is kind of weird, man. This is really weird. Heracles said that may be more of a reason to blow the. Yeah, see, yeah, this is weird. I was thinking, because when I was in his interviews, he was kind of making it seem like he just went to try to make it in Hollywood. And because he didn't mention these B movies in the 80s or his role on Young and the Restless and, you know, being a child actor. I mean, I guess he wasn't really A-list, though. I mean, these are low budget B movies, so. I mean, I guess he wasn't lying per se, but he was involved in acting his whole life, so I don't know what to make of this. I don't know what to think about Paul Walker. So, but it is kind of funny because you're requesting talking about dinosaurs, and in 1990, so apparently he took a break from movies from 87 till 94. So he did Programmed to Kill, aka The Retaliator, and then he didn't act until 94 for Tammy and the T-Rex. Then he did Meet the Deedles in 1998. I haven't seen that one. Huh. Robert Englund and Dennis Hopper are also in this one. Meet the Deedles? Huh. Has anybody seen that? And has anybody seen Programmed to Kill? I mean, that's got MK Ultra written all over it. Let me look up Programmed to Kill. I want to know what this movie is about. I'm actually surprised I haven't seen it. Action sci-fi. It's got some chick with a gun on the cover. A Middle Eastern female terrorist is captured by the CIA in Greece after an attack on a marketplace. Transported back to the USA, the terrorist undergoes an operation where she is transformed into cybernetic killing machine. Now the CIA have a secret weapon to send back to the Middle East, but how long can they control her? So it's called Retaliator and then renamed Program to Kill. Apparently Paul Walker has some kind of small role in this movie. The tagline, she's programmed to kill, he's got every reason to stop her, neither of them have a choice. Wow. 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 Is all I can say about this one. So it stars Sandal Bergman. So, of Xanadu, Conan the Barbarian, and Red Sonja. Huh. She was Valeria in Conan the Barbarian. She's 6 feet tall. Interesting. Huh. Yeah, this is weird. She was also in the movie She, 1984. And she played Queen Gedrin in Red Sonja. Man, that's a pretty good filmography. She was also in Hell Comes to Frogtown, 1987. Wow. And Airplane 2, the sequel. Wow. Okay. So, yeah, this is really weird. Lord Zed says, Lazarus Project is about how instead of the death penalty, they make people forget their entire life and then rebuild them as new people from scratch, so to speak. Yeah, this has MK, all of these movies have MK Ultra written all over them. Dave Scott in the house. Okay, Dave Scott, we need your opinion here. What do you think of Paul Walker? So Paul Walker's filmography, quite interesting. He's doing all these weird movies that are connected to various conspiracy theories, but before they're public. Or at least before they're mainstream. Human trafficking movies, I mean, obviously Fast and the Furious, which then became a gun-running program by the Obama administration. And then he allegedly dies in a ferry crash. And then he's also in movies Tammy and the T-Rex, which, is that a coincidence that we're about to talk about the dinosaur conspiracy? Merman84 brought it up. And that's also on Paul Walker's filmography. I mean, is Paul Walker's filmography hitting more conspiracies, more different types of conspiracies than any other actor ever? Man, let's go through I want to go through his entire filmography now, because this is weird. So he's born in 73, not that young, actually. He died at 40 years of age. November 30th, 2013. So apparently his first movie was Monster in the Closet 86. He also played a character in 3 episodes on Highway to Heaven. Huh, interesting. Highway to Heaven, the guy that dies in a fiery car crash, started his career on Highway to Heaven. Then he did the 87 movie Program to Kill about a CIA killing machine cybernetic organism. He was on the TV series Throb, 23 episodes, 86 to 87. He was in 1 episode of Charles in Charge, 1990. He did a Kellogg's Corn Pops cereal commercial. Then he did Who's the Boss in 91. What a Dummy, 91. Young and the Restless, 32 episodes from 92 to 93. CBS School Break Special, 2 episodes. The Boys Are Back, 1 episode. Tammy and the T-Rex, 94. Touched by an Angel, 96. Meet the Deedles, 98. what is this movie, Meet the Deedles? Has anybody seen this? Two surfers end up as Yellowstone Park rangers and have to stop a former ranger who is out for revenge. That actually seems like an interesting movie. I'm gonna have to check this out. Meet the Deedles, 1998. Also starring Dennis Hopper and Robert Englund. Weird. Huh. Then he did Pleasantville, Varsity Blues, She's All That, Broke Down Palace. Broke Down Palace is a wild movie for people who haven't seen that. Man, this guy's filmography is very weird. This guy's filmography's all over the place. It's very weird. Then he did The Skulls 2000. Then he does Fast and Furious 2001. Then he does Joyride 2001. That's an interesting title of a movie. He's in the ludicrous music video Act a Fool. He's in a short film in 2002, Life Makes Sense If You're Famous. Then he does Too Fast, Too Furious. Then he does Timeline. I totally forgot about Timeline 2003. So he's got a time travel movie as well. This guy's filmography is out. I mean, this is weird. This is weird. Then he does a movie, Noel, 2004. 5 New Yorkers come together on Christmas Eve seeking a miracle. This is also Susan Sarandon and Penelope Cruz. I haven't seen this one. Huh. Then he does Into the Blue, 2005. That was a fun movie. Paul Walker, Jessica Alba. A group of divers find themselves in deep trouble with a drug lord after they come upon the illicit cargo of a sunken airplane. Huh. Interesting. Then he did Running Scared. Okay, for people who haven't seen Running Scared, so check it. This is actually a phenomenal movie. I remember watching it when it, no, Merman 84, not Time Cop, Timeline. Jean-Claude Van Damme was Time Cop. I believe that was that 94 maybe? Timeline was the Paul Walker 2003 time travel movie. And now I totally forgot Paul Walker did Running Scared. So a low-ranking thug is entrusted by his crime boss to dispose of a gun that killed corrupt cops, but things get out of control when the gun ends up in the wrong hands. And forget that entire plot. There's a subplot. Who here has seen Running Scared? I don't want to ruin it. Okay, this is your assignment, all the Mindshock listeners out there. If you haven't seen Running Scared, watch it immediately. There is one of the creepiest Merman 84. If you don't know, I actually worked on a few screenplays in Hollywood, uncredited. So I do know quite a bit about, not on anything big or anything, just indies, but mostly indies. So, yeah, but I know quite a bit about movies, mostly just on the fan side, because I used to be a big fan back when movies still had soul. I don't really watch any movies anymore, but anything post, I don't know, I think 2012 is a weird year. We might have to do an entire podcast on that, because obviously things started getting weird around 2001, obviously post 9/11, but between 2001 and 2012, it was kind of like a weird limbo area, and then from 2012, everything went down. Yeah, Merman 84, you the man. Watch Running Scared. There is a subplot in that movie. It has nothing to do with what I just read on the main plot, so I'm not going to ruin it. This subplot will shake you to your very core, and that's without even considering that Paul Walker ended up dead, or the rest of his filmography. but it is insane. There's a subplot in that movie that is absolutely mind-shocking. I'm not kidding. It's rough. It's rough. I'm not going to say what it connects to, but after everybody watches it, maybe on the next Q&A, we'll talk about it. I'll be doing these every couple days, I guess. So on the next Q&A, that's everybody's assignment, is to watch Running Scared. But now he's involved in these corrupt cop movies. Then he did 8 Below, which I haven't seen. That's 2006. Brutal Cold Forces, Antarctic Explorer. Whoa. He did a movie in Antarctica? What the heck? This is weird. This guy's made a movie about every single conspiracy out there. I mean, I guess other than aliens. He seems to have done everything except aliens. The actual title of 8 Below was originally Antarctica, and it was filmed in Greenland. Brutal Cold Forces 2 Antarctic explorers to leave their team of sled dogs behind as they fend for their survival. I might have to check out this movie too. There might be some weird Easter eggs in this one about Antarctica. Has anybody seen 8 Below with Paul Walker? I mean, this is wild. This is wild. I mean, this is insane. Paul Walker's filmography hits almost every single conspiracy out there. Okay. He's also in Flags of Our Fathers, 2006, the Clint Eastwood movie. The life stories of the 6 men who raised the flag at the Battle of Iwo Jima, a turning point in World War II. So now he's in a World War II movie. Okay. Then he did Bobby Z, 2007. I never even heard of this movie. I was watching a lot of movies back in 2007, but a DEA agent provides former Marine Tim Kearney with a way out of his prison sentence, impersonate Bobby Z, a recently deceased drug dealer, in a hostage switch with a crime lord. Okay, so he's in this movie with Lawrence Fishburne, so he's doing a movie with Morpheus. That's interesting. Huh. Wow. And Olivia Wilde is in this movie too. Bobby Z. Then he also has a segment in Stories USA. 10 individuals set out to find themselves in an alienating world filled with heartbreak, deception, and tragedy. Louis Gossett Jr. and James Gandolfini also in this one. Huh. And Steve Carell. Steve Carell. How do you pronounce that last name? Then he did The Lazarus Project, 2008, which we were talking about. MK Ultra vibes as well. Then he did Fast and Furious, 2009. Then he did Takers, 2010, a group of bank robbers find their multi-million-dollar plan interrupted by a hard-boiled detective. Starring Chris Brown, Hayden Christensen, Matt Dillon as well. And Paul Walker. I haven't seen this one. Then he did Fast 5. Then he did Vehicle 19. In Johannesburg, an American parole breaker unknowingly picks up a rental car that will tie him to a web of corrupt local police. That was a pretty decent movie. I did see that one. Some human trafficking, corrupt cops. Okay, Hours. A father struggles to keep his infant daughter alive in the wake of Hurricane Katrina. He's got a Hurricane Katrina movie. I haven't seen that one. Then he did Fast and Furious 6. He did Pawn Shop Chronicles? Huh. That's weird. An anthology of stories involving meth-addicted white supremacists, a man looking for his kidnapped wife, and an Elvis impersonator. Elijah Wood and Brendan Fraser, Matt Dillon also in this movie. His movie selection is really weird. Huh. That's weird. Huh. Pawn Shop Chronicles 2013. Apparently there's some weird there's some human trafficking and people in cages in this movie. I'm just reading some of the reviews here. That's really weird. And that's 2013. So he died November 30th, 2013. So the last movie, so he did Brick Mansions and Furious 7 unfinished 2015, Brick Mansions 2014, which we'll get to in a second. But Pawn Shop Chronicles, was this the last movie released while he was alive? Huh. Trying to see the release date here. No, it wasn't. It was released January 18, 2014 in Japan. Oh, yes, it was released July 12, 2013. So the last movie that he's actually in that was released while he was alive featured some kind of human trafficking with a lot of women in cages. That's weird. Huh. So he's got movies about Antarctica, Skull and Bones, MK Ultra, joyrides, CIA terrorist cybernetic organisms, time travel, T-Rex movies. What? Does anybody find this weird? Highway to Heaven? I don't know, man. His filmography makes his death even stranger. Lord Zed said, "This proves aliens are fake. Walker would have had a movie with them." Yeah, this is really out there, I Am Iron's Cat. I can't believe, I've seen a lot of Paul Walker movies. I haven't seen them all. I didn't know he had an Antarctica movie. I thought that was in Alaska. I remember seeing a trailer. I thought it was in Alaska, but apparently it's Antarctica. That's a little weird. That's a little weird. And I remember seeing the skulls, but I totally forgot about it until whoever mentioned it here. And Paul Walker is indeed in that movie. And someone also mentioned apparently he turned down Superman for some unknown reason. Rodney said, "I was at where Walker died a couple months afterward. A reporter was there to announce the results of the LAPD examining the car. I still remember his assistant, after he read it, handing it to the reporter and saying the report was very interesting." Huh. Okay, so, yeah, has anybody seen Pawn Shop Chronicles? From the review, there's people in cages and stuff. Seems pretty weird. Alright, Brick Mansions, an undercover Detroit cop navigates a dangerous neighborhood that's surrounded by a containment wall with the help of an ex-cop in order to bring down a crime lord in his plot to devastate the entire city. So this is some kind of lockdown movie with a containment wall, and it's got a bunch of parkour in it. It's Paul Walker, David Bell, and RZA. What? I do remember hearing about this movie now, but for some reason I assumed it was older. Huh, this is weird. So he's in a movie about a walled-in city where everybody does parkour. Interesting. And then, of course, his final movie, unfinished, was Furious 7. Yeah, this is weird. You know what else is weird? Doesn't Tyrese Gibson, I don't know if he has a podcast or something, but he said some crazy things, didn't he? Dave Scott said, "The Paul Walker rabbit hole runs deep. If he did a dinosaur movie, consider my mind shot." He did a dinosaur movie, an Antarctica movie, MK Ultra movies. I mean, this is bizarre. Time travel movies. I mean, I don't know, man. Joyride movies, Highway to Heaven TV series, Touched by an Angel too. But didn't Tyrese? I think Tyrese Gibson would probably be the guy to talk about regarding Paul Walker. I wonder if he said anything about him. Apparently, he cries a lot when Paul Walker comes up. So, what the heck? On the Reddit Cars subreddit, it says Tyrese Gibson and Paul Walker became friends when they realized they were banging the same girl. That's interesting. Didn't Tyrese Gibson say a lot of weird stuff? I don't know about deep conspiracy, but he's said some weird stuff about a lot of stuff. Apparently, this woman was Cindy Leon, the stunt woman for Eva Mendes. Huh. Is this turning into Mindshock TMZ? Yeah, this is all pretty weird. I'm not really going to go into all the Tyrese Gibson, trying to look up a lot of his interviews, but if I remember correctly, he said some unusual stuff for a Hollywood actor. Nothing, I don't think he said anything super specific, but. Flatman B, when I want the truth on the matter, the first place I'm going to is Tyrese. Rodney said, do you know when Walker was dating a 16-year-old girl when he was 28? Then when he was 33, he dated another 16-year-old. Hollywood is weirdo land. I did not know that. That's kind of weird. Merman84 said, this Paul Walker stuff is deep. I had no idea. All I knew is that his car got overridden and drove into a telephone pole because he knew stuff. Yeah, if I remember, at the original time of the death, were the conspiracies that his car was remote controlled or something? Or some kind of something like that? And in 2013, they had just started doing, well, not just, I'm sure they had that tech for a while, but that's what's so freaky about the Teslas and these electric cars that can drive themselves. Because what's to stop somebody from just hacking the car and driving you into a telephone pole or off a cliff? All this stuff is really creepy. I don't know how people can just give their lives over to technology. Not that that's what happened there, but it's just those were some of the conspiracies. Yeah, Dave Scott says, yes, that's the story, remotely crashed. Because supposedly he was a really good driver, right? And at 40 years old, I mean, that's usually older than one would be, you know, doing crazy street racing joyrides. I mean, most kids who do that, they're teenagers or in their 20s, not 40. Yeah, apparently both Paul Walker and Vin Diesel are extremely good drivers. Wait, he was actually an actual race car driver? Wait, what? His grandfather raced cars for Ford. Okay, hold on a second. Wow, you can't make this stuff up. So apparently, after he did the movie The Skulls, Universal asked him what he wanted to do next. And he came up with the pitch of an undercover cop who infiltrates the illegal world of street racing. Wait, what? Roger Rodas were both in an active car racing team. They were both pro race car drivers. And Roger Rodas was the guy driving the car when they both died. And his grandfather raced for Ford. Did everybody know this? I did not know this. I didn't know we would be going into a huge Paul Walker rabbit hole for this Q&A, but this is really weird. This is really weird. Huh. So he was literally a professional race car driver. I didn't know that. And he died in the same car with his friend who was also a professional race car driver who was driving the car. So they also both had a charity. You know what? You can't make this stuff up. So I'm on CNN right now. It said that Roger Rodas' son was one of the first people to arrive at the scene of the accident. They were at a charity event shortly before. So apparently Roger Rodas' son drove towards the accident because he wanted to see the accident. He didn't know that it was his own father that was in the accident. Okay, it's going to get a little crazier. So Rodas, not only was Roger Rodas friends with Paul Walker going back many years, and they're both on the same professional race car team, Rodas was also the managing director of wealth management for Bank of America Merrill Lynch. He was on Barron's list of America's top 1,000 advisors for every year 2010 to 2012. Paul Walker was also his client who handled his portfolio. And they did a bunch of 25-hour Pro-Am endurance races. Rodas also owned Always Evolving, a racing shop in Los Angeles. And he was the captain of the race team, and Paul Walker was one of the drivers on the team. So these guys are total pros. So would they have randomly crashed this car? That seems kind of weird. And this guy's the managing director of wealth management for Bank of America Merrill Lynch. Does anybody find this coincidental, or is it just me? This professional race car driver is a managing wealth director for Merrill Lynch? What? Him and Paul Walker are both pro race car drivers. Walker's grandfather was a race car driver for Ford. And they just happened to swerve into a telephone pole randomly? These professional race car drivers? That doesn't make any sense. Heracles says perhaps he was the target. Yeah, it's possible. Although, how can we ignore Paul Walker's filmography? I mean, how do you ignore Paul Walker's filmography? I mean, this just adds to the coincidence stack, because now you got Paul Walker, and then you have Roger Rodas, managing director of wealth management for Bank of America Merrill Lynch, on Barron's list of top 1,000. I mean, this guy would clearly be a target. And then you have the coincidence that his own son was one of the first on the scene, not knowing that his father was the one in the accident. That's kind of weird, is it not? I'd like to know more about their charity. Perhaps, sold the wonder. Wow, check this out. San Bernardino's son, former Lake Arrowhead home of driver and actor Paul Walker's death. The late car shop owner Roger Rodas' family sold their waterfront house in 2016 to the current owner. Anyone want to guess what price they sold it for? Anybody have any guesses on the price? Close, 3.3 million. Getting a lot of 33s in this podcast for some reason. I don't remember them reporting that Rodas was this huge wealth manager at Merrill Lynch. Also, apparently the address was Hercules Street, west of Constitution. That's what it says on the autopsy. It was a Porsche Carrera GT traveling at an unsafe speed on the eastbound lane on Hercules Street, approaching Constitution. For unknown reasons, the driver lost control of the vehicle, and the vehicle partially spun around and began to travel in a southeast direction. The vehicle then struck a sidewalk, and the driver's side of the vehicle struck a tree and then a light pole. So there was no reason as to why it lost control. So that's kind of weird. So they could never find the reason? That's kind of weird. That's kind of weird. There was a $10.1 million settlement. Paul Walker's daughter, Meadow, was awarded $10.1 million. Driver Roger Rodas was found partly to blame for the fatal car accident. Undisclosed court settlement 2014. Rodas's widow is suing, claiming defects caused the crash, and will appeal the verdict. This is all really weird. I mean, it's just weird. A judge acting on behalf of Roger's widow, Christine Rodas, cleared Porsche of any wrongdoing in their deaths just last week. And yeah, I mean, the Porsche Carrera GT, I mean, that's not really a car that's claimed to have a lot of issues, as far as I know. It's a 2005 Carrera GT. How does a professional race car driver randomly lose control in the middle of a regular street? And the report says unknown reason for that loss of control. Joyce says, reminds me of the Anne Hesh crash. We were just talking about that earlier as well. Merman84 says, I just want to talk about dinosaurs. I don't know what you guys are on about. Well, we can talk about Tammy the T-Rex, the dinosaur movie Paul Walker made. But yeah, we can get into dinosaurs to wrap this up here. I'm just kind of mind shocked. I wasn't expecting this many rabbit holes for Paul Walker. Because Anne Hesh was rumored to be working on some kind of human trafficking conspiracy, but those rumors were supposedly denied. I don't know. Okay, I found something here. Wow. Who mentioned Hillary Clinton? We got Hillary Clinton involved here. All right, few different theories here. So his charity was part of the Philippine relief effort, Typhoon Haiyan. Wait, what? Okay. Wait, what? No way. There's no way. Man, we're going to crazy conspiracy land now. So, Ryan Dunn crashed his Porsche 911 GT3, veered off the road, struck a tree. Huh. Dunn had just turned 34 9 days prior, so he was not 33 years old, he was 34. But these guys were drunk, though, supposedly. So that's a little bit different. But here's what's weird. So, Dunn got killed in this Porsche accident, veering off a road, hitting a tree at 3:30 a.m. Paul Walker at 3:30 p.m. That's kind of weird. Anybody find that kind of weird? Am I the only one who finds that kind of weird? We're still on Paul Walker. We'll get to the damn dinos, but we're on Paul Walker right now. I did not read the description for Tammy and the T-Rex. I'll read it in a second. I'm still trying to wrap my mind around that Dunn of Jackass Part 2 is dying in a Porsche accident, erupting into flames at 3:30 a.m., and Paul Walker at 3:30 p.m. Oh, Denise Richards is in Tammy and the T-Rex. That's interesting. An evil scientist implants the brain of murdered high school student Michael into a Tyrannosaurus. He escapes, wreaks vengeance on his high school tormentors, and reunites with his sweetheart Tammy. Wow. See, that's a classic 80s, 90s plot. You don't see movies like this being made anymore. But this sounds like it's an entertaining movie, but that is a wild conspiracy. So not only dinosaurs, but brain transplants of humans into dinos. I mean, this is back when Hollywood had original ideas. I'm surprised they didn't remake that. That is bonkers. Joyce B, new sub, loved Run Z Cow debunks Einstein video, so great, sent it out to my peeps. Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. Flatman B, Transformers seems more real than dinosaurs, but hey, what do I know? What about brain transplants from humans to dinos? Dave Scott, don't forget Running Scared is homework. Yes, all the Mindshockers, your homework is to watch the Paul Walker movie Running Scared. Not only is it a good movie, but there is a side plot in there that will shock everybody. Particularly when you look at the rest of Walker's filmography. Merman84, my sister works at the Canadian Museum of Nature, not sure how to approach the topic with her. We'll get to the dinos in a second. I'm still trying to figure out how Dunn died in a Porsche erupting into flames at 3:30 a.m. and Paul Walker at 3:30 p.m. That's a lot of 33s. They can make a movie about Paul Walker's life, and it'll be absolutely unbelievable just based on his filmography alone, not even factoring his death. Not even factoring his death. I mean, this is bonkers stuff. Is there something significant about Porsche? What is Porsche? All the car manufacturers are actually named after gods or goddesses. But I don't know what Porsche is named after. Porsche is derived from Bogoris, or Boris, an old Turkic name that is generally translated as wolf or snow leopard. Huh. That's weird. Porsche also means mare in Teutonic. German. Of German origin. Yeah, it's kind of weird. Oh, maybe not. So Porsche was named after Ferdinand Porsche, an automotive engineer who founded the company and then worked for Adolf Hitler. Wow, there's that connection. I think everybody saw that one coming. And then the Porsche 911 GT. That's an interesting name for Porsche, right? The Porsche 911. We're going deep on this Mindshock Q&A. When did the Porsche 911... I wonder when that first came out. So this guy who worked for Hitler... founded Porsche... and then they make the Porsche 911. Let's see what year. Apparently their stock is P911, or at least in Germany. Interesting. So 1964, they launched the 911. Interesting. Interesting. And then also this is on Hercules Street. Now, Portia in Greek mythology The wife of Brutus. Or wait, this isn't mythology. This is real history. She is best known for being the second wife of Brutus, one of Caesar's assassins. Wow. Interesting. And apparently Portia committed suicide by swallowing hot coals. This is kind of weird. So she took her life by burning charcoal. This is the second wife of Brutus, one of Julius Caesar's assassins. This is quite interesting. I mean, I didn't realize that. I don't think that was a common way to commit suicide. Is anybody following, though? Cassidy, WTF indeed. We have the Porsche 911. We have the founder of Porsche working for Hitler. We have Portia, the second wife of Brutus who assassinated Caesar, committing suicide by engulfing herself in hot coals and burning alive from within. I mean, I don't know, but that's the story. And then this is happening on Hercules Street at 3:30 p.m. Is everybody following here? Is everybody following? I mean, this coincidence, and this is without even looking at Paul Walker's filmography, which we already looked at. Conspiracies from MK Ultra to Antarctica to time travel to joyride movies and appearing on Highway to Heaven, Joyride, Touched by an Angel, getting taken out in a Porsche where he's a pro race car driver with the actual driver being the managing financial partner or whatever, the financial manager of Merrill Lynch. I mean, this is insane. I mean, this is quite mind-shocking even for Mindshock. I was not expecting a coincidence stacked this high. I didn't know that Portia, Brutus's second wife, committed suicide by swallowing coals engulfing in flames from within. This is very weird, to say the least. We're about to get into the Clintons, by the way. if you guys aren't mind shocked yet. This is all very weird. Because it's not like all of the German car manufacturers had ties to Hitler. I think a few of them did, but apparently Porsche did directly. Ferdinand Porsche. Who's ready for another mind shock? The origin of the name Portia means sacrifice or offering. Also, doorway or gateway. This is wild. This is wild. So Portia committed suicide by swallowing hot coals engulfing in flames from within or whatever. That's how the story goes. The name Portia means offering or sacrifice. And this is going down at 3:30 p.m. on Hercules Street in Los Angeles, the city of angels. Wow. I mean, this is weird. This is weird. I don't know what to make of this. This is beyond weird. I mean, the coincidence stack is already so stratospheric. Hmm. Okay, so let's go to see how this all connects to the Clintons. Because I don't think anybody here will be surprised to know that this is all going to connect to the Clintons one way or another. Heracles' burnt offering, yeah. And then in Heracles, we got Heracles in the chat when this is going down on Hercules Street in the City of Angels. Flatman B says, this somehow leads back to the mole people. I can just taste it. Oh, man. Yeah, this is weird, man. This is really weird. Something else is here. Said, the big names bloodlines have always been about their occultic ties going back to forever ago. And so Walker, Paul Walker, his name is Walker. Is he walking through the gate of the offering in that Porsche? I don't know. It's all weird. It's all pretty weird. All right, let's see what other connections here. All right, let's see if there's a connection here. Some people are saying, so, okay, he has this charity that he runs with the driver of the car. So this is Roger Rodas. And the guy's name is Roger Rodas. Rodas. As in a road. What? What? This is really weird. So, this guy's a financial manager. They also have, so they have a pro car racing team, and they also have a charity. So they were doing charity work in both the Philippines and Haiti. So apparently, this was a tweet from Return of Cappy. November 30th, 2013. His car hit a tree, caught fire. The video, however, looks like an explosion. He was set to come forward exposing the Clinton Foundation's crimes against children in Haiti. He discovered this through his charity work. So supposedly they were also on their way back from a charity event. So was something leaked at that charity event? Because these guys are coming back from a charity event. And supposedly the Clinton Foundation's doing something shady in Haiti. Shady in Haiti. Would anybody be surprised by that? Now, obviously, the Clinton kill list is so long already. I mean, I guess, would they? Okay, so... Okay, here's some interesting posts from the subreddit Forwards from Grandma talking about this conspiracy. So, I don't know. Make of this what you will. Prue Drive says, wasn't he dating like a 16-year-old or something? Sal Paradise responded, I'm pretty sure that was just a cover. so he could infiltrate the Clinton, Epstein, Soros cabal. Soros got wind of this and had Hillary whack Walker. Walker had left a letter to be mailed to Louis Anderson upon his death. Wait, is this the Louis Anderson I'm thinking of? Yes, it is. Wow, the stand-up comedian Louis Anderson, but he didn't die until 2 years ago, January 21st, 2022 in Vegas. I don't know about any Louis Anderson conspiracies, but anyway, Louis was about to release the constant letter Hillary got to him. Anderson sent the letter to Bob Saget, who had sequestered himself in a hotel room for a week to prepare for his release of the letter. All I'm going to say about this is healthy white males just don't up and die in a locked hotel room alone. Do the math, sheeple. Well, is it kind of weird that right around Epstein, a lot of people start dying, although even a few years prior with Walker and some of these other people, they're dying. Flatman B said, dude, I even said Hillary earlier. And I was just kidding, not a surprise. Yeah, I mean, I didn't know that you were kidding, but no, I don't believe anybody's surprised here. Bob Saget's another one, of course. But this is really weird. Everything about this is weird. And then apparently Ryan Dunn was also involved with some of this information. I don't know. This is kind of weird. But, I mean, because there is child trafficking in Haiti. So if Paul Walker, through his charity, uncovered something in Haiti or even the Philippines, I don't know. Do all roads lead back to Epstein? Wow, this is actually kind of weird. Wow, check this out. So, there's a documentary, The Silent Children, which was never completed. The LLC that was producing it dissolved in January 2017. Unofficially, Bourdain, Avicii, and Hesh were all linked to them, but there's no evidence that they were linked to them, but all these people ended up dying. So is it coincidental that this documentary never got completed? Also, apparently Anne Heche's one of her last movies, if not her last movie, was... Oh, it's not her last movie. Wow, she's doing a lot of movies. But in 2022, there's Girl in Room 13. Grace becomes addicted to opioids after suffering a sports injury. She's ready to leave her addiction behind under her mother's watch, but her past won't let it go. Richie kidnaps her in a motel room to sell her into human trafficking. Okay. That is one of her last movies. Wow. So yeah, The Silent Children, an attempted documentary that never got released. Supposedly, a number of celebrities attached to it. Dave Scott says, suffice to say, we passed kinda weird a long time ago. Yeah, I mean, wow, yeah. I had no idea this would go this deep with Paul Walker. And then, Ellen's DJ offs himself. And Anne Hesh hung out with Ellen. Okay. I wonder how many people around Ellen have ended up dead. User since deleted posted this on the conspiracy subreddit regarding Anne Hesh. Ellen, and I think maybe also Oprah, was tied to some of those weird Wayfair furniture ads that many claimed seemed suspiciously like fake ads that were instead ads for the trafficking of children. It was a couple of years back. I do remember there was some real weirdness to it. In fact, I think Ellen admitted having something to do with the ads, but claimed that the really nonsensical pricing and cryptic language found in these ads had nothing to do with child trafficking. The statement just kind of defended the pricing and the wording, even though people knew furniture were saying that pricing was like way off. But of course, nothing came of it. YouTube has probably scrubbed all the videos by now that were made about it, since they began censoring just about anything that can really damage the establishment or paint it in a bad light in the past year or two. But anyway, maybe her apparent murder has something to do with this. I mean, it's kind of weird. We have quite a few incidents here regarding actors either being run off the road or some strange vehicle issues. Because it seems like there's not that many bizarre car chase crash deaths, even in Hollywood. Something else is here said, yeah, I remain open to an off-world origin to a secret bloodline nestled safely among several ethnicities as a way to keep it better hidden, not all eggs in one basket. Sarah says, this is depressing. I mean, sort of. I mean, awareness and just being aware is step one, because then you can prevent more evil that way. Dave says, Ellen is a Hollywood handler, JMO. Yeah, Ellen's definitely weird, regardless of what she is. Something just seems off about her eyes. I mean, I've never really watched her show, but just in the commercials, just her, she's got that MK Ultra stare. It's kind of creepy. Alright, so let's wrap this up. Any final thoughts on Paul Walker or these strange celebrity car deaths? And then we'll do a brief aside on dinos. I mean, there's not that much to say about dinosaurs, because, I mean, it's just the coincidence stack. The guy predicts them, then, what was it? Some kind of anniversary to the day they discovered the first one. Was it 100 years or something after the prediction? and then they coincidentally only find them in an area of Montana specifically set aside to find them. I mean, and then the museums won't let any independent testing, and then all the dinos on display are apparently replicas, and yeah, it's weird. Joy said, "I will definitely watch the Running Scared Paul Walker movie." Yes, I need to watch that again as well. I haven't seen it in so long. I will check that out as well. And then tomorrow, I believe, if everything's on schedule, I will be airing a podcast with a very special guest, high-ranking academic, published papers, Ivy League, prestigious background, and we'll be talking scientism, flat earth, and a lot of crazy conspiracies, and basic psychology and epistemology as well. So that's it for now. Another mind-shocking stream. I mean, even I didn't know it was going to get that mind-shocking. Well, yeah, we need to do a Louis Anderson conspiracy podcast as well. I forgot all about Louis Anderson. Life with Louis, yeah. So I hope everybody found another edition of the Mindshock podcast interesting and informative. Heracles, I do not have a time. Maybe around the same time as this one. Somewhere later in the day, regardless of time zones. So, yeah, if you want to help support the podcast, you can donate to our PayPal. Just check the link in the description. You could also become a YouTube member right here on YouTube. Help support the channel that way. Get access to exclusive streams and chats. Make sure you subscribe. Hit that bell. If you're still not getting notifications, like and share more. Or just go to youtube.com/Mindshock. You can also check us out on Twitter, Facebook, Reddit, Patreon. Questions, comments, theories, thoughts, suggestions, rebuttals, debunkings of any kind, leave them in the comment section. This is Bruce McGuire signing off. Catch you guys next time.